Hello everyone, and welcome back once again to The Long Drive. I just saw myself peeking out from behind myself. Did you see that? That is so weird. You know what? Actually, it's a little bit wobbly. I think maybe that's supposed to be heat blur on the road. But it's kind of rendering weirdly, so it's just kind of duplicating my face behind me. I know you guys really enjoy this game and are always asking me to play it, and I don't really come back to it all that often because there's not too much to the game itself. So I really mainly use it as a springboard to just lazily coast along, occasionally explore a weird derelict house, and just kind of talk about whatever's on my mind. But it's a new year. I did it for the new year last year, and I figured we can probably find something to talk about before this guy gets any weirder in the brighter light. Can we still? Oh, we can still. We absolutely can still. These menus are still unhinged as the game itself. Well, it says distance driven 687 kilometers, and this game probably has been updated a fair bit. We're currently on the test build, so maybe we can find some differences yet. Ah, they're not loading. Well, that's a shame. Okay, well, I guess that means it's an opportunity to start anew, right? And if we do go back to a previous build, I had these saves backed up. New year, new save, right? Besides, it just gives us an opportunity to pack adequately. We've got our little toy giraffe sitting on the bed, and a whole lot of desert to clear. Actually, it's just as well. I'm going to need some time to really get to grips with this. Look at that. There's like distortion through the glass, or at least it seemed like it. Maybe that's just the heat blur being weird again. Look at this. All these cacti and trees out in the desert. It's been a while, but is it just me, or is this much, much more detailed than it used to be, at least in terms of terrain scatter? Oh, look at this. We've even got our yellow Better Call Saul phone booth sitting in the middle here. Of course, the receiver isn't even real. It's just kind of painted on. Well, I guess we have to hold on to some kind of fantasy when we live in the desert. Although, one thing... You hear that? Listen to that. We can hear wind speed only when we run. That is so weird. Also, I am taking note of that streak in the sky. It kinda seems like maybe a streak from an airplane? It is! It is! That's an airplane! Isn't this supposed to be a post-apocalypse? There's still people around. I wonder if that accounts for some of the nav lights we've seen at night. Never mind, we are a new person starting a new journey. And unfortunately, I don't think we're making it on this bike. Oh, I am so gonna have to get to grips with these controls again. Look at that, a little Minecraft avatar hanging from the stairs. Now, one thing that I've long wanted to check out is, you guys have said that there is a story reason why we're on the road. I left it behind last time, over a year ago when I was here. But there is a note we can find that kind of lays it all out. So let's poke around in our dusty old attic and see if we can find anything. Ooh, a sponge. We're gonna want that. From up here, we can get our first look at what's going to be our first chariot. Ooh. Well, she's looking a little bit rough. But I'm sure she can get us from point A to point B, and besides, she's a fixer-upper, right? That's the whole point of a journey. It's about the journey, not the destination. What else can we take? There must be something around. Ooh, maybe in the basement? A drum of alcohol. And a severed arm, and one of those dolls. Well, I suppose when you live in the desert, there's not much else you can do. After all, you can't even remember your name out here. Diesel. I'd like to carry that with me, but I don't have the space, nor do I have the vehicle for it. Although that may change. pair of binoculars. Okay, we'll probably want that unless I'm gonna get startled by tumbleweeds over and over again. And get used to that. Hang on. Oop. That's useful. Okay, now there should be a way to put that into our inventory, right? There we go. We just have to press a num key, a BB gun, and just a little bit of gas and water. Well then, before we get moving, how are we doing on gas? 98% gas, 3% oil. It's not a whole lot. It's not a whole lot at all. We're gonna need much more. Alright, so we open that. Oops. That's one problem with being away from this for so long, is that I need a brand new tutorial every single time I open it. But we can come over here and fill you up. Perfect. That'll keep us going for a little while. It's somewhat realistic fuel consumption, so it's not like we're just going to run out immediately. We've got a spare tire in the back, and we're going to need this can so we can fill it up. Water too. Out in the desert, you are going to die of thirst and dehydration and heat stroke real quickly if you're not careful. A light. We're certainly going to want one of those. In fact, we're going to want it on our person at all times. A wire brush. We can use that when we want to paint this thing. And some oil. Ooh, we should probably check the engine to see how much we've got. Water for our coolant. Also, I understand some cars work differently, some engines work differently. Does this one actually take oil? I'm not sure. Maybe we'll find a replacement. Either way, it's good to have it. And one thing I've always liked about this game is how fuel mixture is actually a thing. By the way, you can mix any liquids. If you want to run on blood, you're welcome to try. Food for sure. Oof, gas, lots and lots of gas. I wonder, can we fit this thing in the back seat? It looks like it just might fit. I think I just accidentally drank some. It was just a sip. Just a sip, we're fine. And now there's no deadly bacteria in our gut. Nobody wants bacteria in their guts. Road trips are inherently comfy. But we'll talk more about that as we go. All I'll say now is that I've always liked leaving in the early morning. It's a practical consideration, sure, because you just want to get an early start, get on the road early, beat traffic. But it just makes it feel like you're embarking on a journey to still be awake when the sun comes up and you finally get there, or when you pull into a rest stop. Being able to physically see that passage of time really makes it feel real to me. Let's see, I don't think this will pass a customs inspection. Thankfully, there's no more customs. There we go. Oh, imagine that projectile if we get into an accident. That's the kind of thing that'll fly through our front windshield and take out the 3 cars in front of us. Alright, well, with that basically full, let's get to work, shall we? Now, there is a way to make this our... There we go, tab. Let's see if this will work the way we want to. We can file off the grossness. Wow, that is some brush. Okay, let's do it all. At least if we have some color, we won't be embarrassed in front of all the other lemons. And we will be blazing by many of them. I don't intend on stopping until I really need to. And by until I really need to, I mean I saw a structure down the road and I would really, really like to check it out. Okay, that thing's not going to go away. There we are. I'm sorry, but this is where we part ways. We had some good times, didn't we? All in the passenger seat. That's the important thing. Unfortunately, there's no center console we can keep like a stack of pretzels in, but it's really important to have all this stuff close at hand. And a drink if we can find one. Of any variety. Because there's nobody around to enforce traffic laws anymore. It's just the world we live in now. Ooh. Oh, I think that was just a tumbleweed passing in front of the sun, or at least I hope so. But these shadows are creeping, and I kind of want to get out of here soon. I found this big drum of water outside, and unfortunately I can't take it with me. but I can at least take as much as possible. Oh, wait, that might actually be useful. Hang on. Yes, you just leaked some gas. Yes, that's actually what I need. All right, so I was playing around with it, and I realized, like, if this is one of those engines where you need to put the gas in, or the oil in with the gas, then that doesn't really work for me. But if we can dump some of it out by simply pushing the car over... Oh, that is beautiful. All right, I'm not sure what the ratio is meant to be, and I know there's varying performance based on what that is. It's not all or nothing. Now, if we take this and pour in, say, this much oil, I'm not sure what the percentage is actually supposed to be. Yeah, let's just make it 10%. That should be good. And now we can open the doors and see how she runs. Wait, maybe we will need to do a little bit more work, actually. Before we can get going, we need to find that note you told me about, and I believe you had mentioned that it could be found at a mailbox outside. Ooh. Please visit me. Love, Mom. And nothing on the back. Well, okay, that's coming with us, because that is our motivation. Actually, it looks like it's written on some kind of official paper, but I can't quite make out what it's for. It does seem significant, though. Alright, enough playing around. Let's hop in our car, that moment where you close the door, ready to go. And see what we can do. I guess we got that ratio right. Now if I can only back out of here. Oh, wow, that rattling really does not sound good. And the handling is a little zany. Okay, there's gotta be lights, right? Okay, in good repair or no, we are ready to go. Let's hit it. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but the terrain, it just feels a bit more detailed. Something about the lighting, maybe? And I can't tell if that was smoke or some kind of particle rising from that building. But this is the appeal of this. It's all the comfiness and all the creepiness of a road trip condensed into the experience of a game. Something that's really been coming around a lot, especially since Mr. Cleanup Detail, is the concept of the Zen game. Something that you can turn your brain off, hop in, and just do some mindless, repetitive, yet satisfying task for hours on end. In this case, just driving down a road, having only enough brain power to react to turns and sometimes threats, having to maintain, upgrade, replace our car, and even customize as we go. There's just something I think is so cool about being in that low-power state that I think is starting to appeal to a lot of others as well, because this genre is exploding with things like Power Wash Simulator and Crime Scene Cleaner. I mean, hey, nobody said you can't make it interesting, right? It's still the same kind of thing. But the best part about road trips, because they can be fun to do solitary, they can be fun to do alone, but it's always better when you have someone to talk to, conversation to fill that empty space while you're going down the road. That's what the series has always been to me, just kind of an opportunity to talk. What is this? We hit the end of the road. Is that a bug? Or was I just meant to go the other way? Was I meant to go the other way? A road trip is having a bit of a struggle making progress, admittedly. But I think we'll be okay. Just gotta keep on trucking. I definitely put in too much oil. I was really worried about that not working, but apparently the ratio was supposed to be something like 3%. So we're quite a bit over that. We can dilute it once we find some more gas. But this is more than enough for now. I don't believe parts have conditions, so I think we're not really gonna have to worry about damaging it. We're just gonna have some reduced power and some annoying noises while we wait. There we go. But as I was saying, I do think that road trips, the real appeal of them is taking in the sights as you go, or just kind of zoning out and feeling the road pass under you, and talking with whoever else is along for the ride, because it's really about who you make the trip with, the kind of conversations you have to fill your time. It's weird though, I always find I have such a hard time talking about things when there's nothing in front of me. I mean, considering I give commentary on the fly, usually while being chased by something or trying to figure something out, it's weird how my brain sort of short-circuits when it just says, okay, here's the prompt, anything, whatever you feel like talking about. But the thing about conversations in a car is that they tend to drift all over the place. Much like this road. What is going on with the roads in this build? An intersection? I don't even know what that is. Wow, I really have been gone a long time. Oh, well, I mean, I always thought we were meant to keep the poles on the right, but I suppose going that way didn't help us any, so we might as well start going. What is that now, 6 kilometers on the odometer? Well, I mean, it's not linear. It's not exactly a true indication of our progress. Wow, I'm also noticing there do seem to be a lot more rocks and obstructions in the road. It's more winding than before. This is requiring a little bit more brain power. Whether that's intentional or just a result of quirkiness, I'm not sure, but it's certainly different from before. For example, one thing I always struggle with in these videos is not just talking about, like, games I've played or movies I've seen, because I really don't want to just throw in, like, hand grenade spoilers where you're not expecting them. So I'm not going to talk about specifics about any of these things, but something that's been on my mind a lot lately is the way people criticize movies specifically, but you could apply this to anything. I have always kind of taken inspiration from the Nostalgia Critic on this channel, and it may not actually come across all that often because the format is very different, but, you know, when I refer to running jokes like Darwin or Officer Flat Screen, that's what I'm thinking of. I like having all these in-jokes that can be referenced at any time, a sort of shorthand that people can follow along with as they're watching. And as much as I love the Nostalgia Critic, as much as I love the Angry Video Game Nerd, I really feel like they have played a part in ruining the way people think of media. And it's not their fault. They're not doing anything wrong. They are, you know, they're entertainment channels. They're trying to be entertaining. It's not so much about the work itself that they're talking about. It's about the performance that they bring and use that as a springboard. But I feel like a lot of people, when they criticize things now, are trying to be as snide as possible, trying to be basically funny, and consider their opinion to be a piece of entertainment in and of itself. Oh my! Oh god, you're running after me for the first time. I don't actually have a means of dealing with a zombie. Okay, can you follow me up a ladder? Critical thing to learn. Ow! Oh my god, you can, you absolutely can. And it's just as janky as anything else. There's gas in there. Drop it down. Yep. Would I survive the drop? I did! And so did you. Okay, we're not getting that. Or are we? Okay, we've got a little bit of time. Sorry, that caught me off guard. These guys were never once a threat in the previous season. Now, all at once, that was kind of rough on me. Anyways, as I was saying, I really don't think it's healthy the way people criticize things right now, because I feel like there's no such thing as something being okay now or nuanced. Everything is either the best thing ever or the worst thing ever, and it makes it really hard to exist. I mean, people always say that Hollywood is just full of remakes and sequels and generally unoriginal ideas, and, well, actually, I think there's a lot of good new stuff coming out now to begin with, so that's another thing we could debate. But part of the reason why a lot of those things are at the forefront is because things are going to get raked across the coals if there's something new and not completely beloved. Oh, look. We have a gas station. Actually, this is a structure shape I've not seen before, but there is a zombie inside. Alright, what do we do about this? So much worse than the moans is the fact that they actually do talk to us. If we can't get our hands on a weapon, find some place that's not inhabited, we're gonna have a really hard time getting out of here. We're having to make choices on our road now, going nowhere in particular. If I can stop being distracted for just a moment. I don't just say all this in terms of critical reviews, I'm actually speaking more about the way people, audiences, seem to think of things, because it is a much harsher landscape than I ever remember it being. Not to say there haven't always been harsh critics, like, say, Roger Ebert influencing people's opinions, but I think the internet has kind of created a need to be as bombastic in opinions as possible in order to stand out, and it has influenced thinking. There are very few movies that I absolutely hate. There are movies that didn't really do it for me. There's things that I criticize a lot, but even movies that I have a ton of criticisms of, I often like. I mean, one of my favorite movies ever is Hell House LLC. That's a movie where I could go on and on about the things I don't like about it. I even made my own edit of that one, specifically because there were so many things I didn't like about it that I thought it would be better off without. But it's still one of my favorite movies. There's one called Last Shift that I've talked about a few times, and I would call that a bad movie. I don't think it's very good at all, but I still really, really enjoy it. There is so much room for nuance in entertainment that I think that's the kind of thoughts we should nurture when it comes to these things. Even if we don't like something altogether, even if we think something's bad and we didn't enjoy it, we should still be able to look at it and say, okay, but that idea was interesting. I liked how it handled that. The same can be applied to games as well, and to me that actually happens a lot in games because it's something where the different parts of a game are a lot more separate than in a movie or a scripted medium. For example, there are a lot of games where I love the story but don't really like the gameplay all that much, and vice versa. I mean, this is a game that hardly has a story at all, but we're still following along to it. Hang on, oh no. I may have forgotten to take the binoculars with me. But the Mark I eyeball is good optics. And I can see that those are just rocks down there. I thought maybe there was some kind of large building. It seems we're at a crossroads, and it's very strange not having those power poles nearby. Some of these roads don't even have paint. Are we ever going to come across poles again? Oh boy, I can't help but feel like I've really messed up here. That is a just complete roadblock. Yeah, this certainly does have experimental written all over it. But maybe there's some place we can stop for supplies? Even if I can just find like a melee weapon or something, that'll open up the world to us. At least make it so I don't have to flee in terror every time an enemy shows up. Listen to that ticking from the engine cooling down. Maybe we could also pour some water in there. Get some better coolant. Gas. It's not much, but it'll help us. Okay, well that's been open this entire time. Yep. Didn't even change the ratio. It's kind of creepy, isn't it? Just a little back room with a TV sitting on the floor. Without a melee weapon, we don't even have the means to break these boxes. Although maybe the BB gun could do it. Look at how creepy our shadow looks right now. That is setting the mood for the spooky night drive we're about to embark on. Look, growing and growing alongside the shadow of our car, our fingers extending in the shadow. This is better than TV. Speaking of, is there actually anything we can do with these TVs? We can actually turn it on. Hang on, wait, can I do something really, really stupid? I wonder if it's actually possible to Voices of the Void this thing. I mean, Voices of the Void is another similar game where, yes, it has a lot of things going on, but it does still have the spirit of that idea of doing nothing in a video game, of spending so much of your time on downtime and realizing that downtime in a cozy place, well, that can be an experience all its own. That doesn't seem like it wants to fit. What a shame. Having a full-on TV set on the dashboard is certainly one way to go about distracted driving, and I'm nothing if not a pioneer. But the sun is setting, which for me is prime driving hours. Oh, that's the horn. Back on the road. And if we see any lights in the distance, we'll move towards them. Once again, I can't help but feel like I've screwed up by getting away from the power lines. Now I don't even know if I'd be able to find my way back. I am seeing some weird glimmers on the horizon. Yeah, those look like green lights, but I think those were present before. But this is what I love the most about road trips. Even better when you're with a small group of friends talking about just whatever, current events, what's going on in each other's lives, where you're going. But the best, I think, is telling spooky stories. It's the best time for it, and hey, you want to be a little drowsy, but you don't want to be falling asleep. You don't want it to become unsafe, or this becomes uncomfy in a real hurry. I think telling scary stories, especially if they're effective ones, is a good way to keep everyone awake. You'll definitely be alert if you're waiting to see the lady in white hitchhiking you on the side of the road. This thing feels so floaty. Wait, that was an intersection? Oh, look at that moonlight. Even in the headlights, it's total pitch blackness all around, but we look to our left and we can actually sort of see the landscape beneath it. Unfortunately, I don't see streetlights anywhere. Honestly, I half expected to turn around and see some demonic face pressed against the glass that drops down and skitters away into the night. I've always sort of likened road legends to sea legends. I mean, they're both places where you spend a lot of time just kind of looking out at nothing, and the mind wanders. You keep thinking, not necessarily even that you did see something, but rather, what if I saw something? You conjure a spooky face in your mind, and think, what if I saw that in my rear view when I go to check? And even though it didn't happen, you're still getting the jitters just as if it did. Oh yeah, this is why I prefer the night drives. Actually, let's adjust that mirror so I can see what's going on. Not that I can see much, considering it's all dark back there. Oof. Oh wow, we are in Rock Valley. Oof. Imagine if, as we were spinning around, just for a moment we caught someone standing there, but they weren't there on the second revolution. Oh well, I'm sure we can find some help at the dark old gas station on the side of the road. That always works. No, but seriously, what if there was a small chance to turn that rear view and see someone staring at you, grinning from the back seat for just a moment? God, that's creepy. Oh, okay, nope. This is over. This is already over. Nope. I'm in. Nope. Okay, maybe we do have a way to deal with this. You're taking this better than I had hoped. Oh no. I've made this far worse. Okay, in reverse. We need to gain some distance so that we can do stuff like this. Okay, that was like 30-mile-an-hour collision. Might not have looked fast, but it was something. You know what? Screw it, you're coming with us. Oh no. Oh no. Can I... push. What am I doing trying to push? You're outside the windshield. Well, yep. Oh god. I'm finding this update a whole lot creepier, I'll give it that. But it seems like we've finally lost our tail. I know they're not behaving any differently and it's just circumstances, but they have really been giving me a rough time in this part. You see that? There's just a green light up there. I'm pretty sure I've seen these before, but it's weird. It just stands out among the stars to the point where it takes you a moment to even notice that it's different. But it is differently colored and noticeably moving. But yeah, now that we're not going down a linear path, it actually kind of makes it feel like we're not going anywhere at all. Where before there was a sort of inherent sense of progress. I don't think I really like this change. And once again, I'm not sure if it's just like a temporary update thing. Maybe we can ask for help at the house in the distance? Once again, I'm sure it'll be fine, even though we're invoking several horror tropes all in one. Oh, look, they've even got a well. Is there perhaps anything creepy down the well? I don't want to mess with it too much because it's very easy to accidentally fall in. It almost feels like I'm being pulled in when I try to climb up there. How's about in the fridge? Nothing? Ooh, there's some food we can eat. And how do we eat this? Oh, no wonder! We never pulled over to take a leak. Our vitals are not looking so good. And let's just take a walking pee. Or try out some of these new fluid dynamics. This is 81% alcohol. So we can drink that to replenish some of our health. Okay, never mind. This is actually entirely too valuable. That'll do. That'll actually do just perfectly. Or we can arc directly over it. We can have a seat. Oop. What a way to see the coffin propped up against the wall over here. Is somebody home? Oh my god. What happened to you? Oh, you are so nice, you even mirrored yourself on the other wall. And back here. Oil. Okay, we really need to relieve ourselves. Hang on, let's step outside for just a moment. There is another car here, and a trailer, and a motorcycle. Oh, that's how that works. We can open it as a side-mounted pack. Tell you what, I don't know if our car has the stability for this, but we could use a trailer. And you go. Which means that we can now try out these fluid mechanics. We can see that there actually is water resting on the bottom of the bucket. And if we pee into it... Oops. We're out of water pressure. But you did see the water level go up a little bit, right? It just says water and alcohol. Wait, there was no alcohol before. Is that all me? Oh, God. Bit of a strange house. There's no actual way to get up to the second floor. But I should be able to eat this now. Thank you very much. Yeah, whatever. I can't get this to work, and at this point, I don't think it's going to. So I think it's time to just get out of here. Right after I have myself a sip of some of this water that's back here. And since we can't deal with any of that, back on the road. And since this is technically a New Year video, although Machine for Pigs will have come out yesterday, this is definitely a time where I'm thinking back on, how far this channel has come, and it really is impressive. I mean, 2024 was by far the best year for the channel, and I really have you to thank for that. I also really, really need to thank those of you who have given to the Patreon, because, I've always felt really weird about asking for money directly from the community. But I kind of started that as a way to fund series, because, those things don't really get a whole ton of views. They don't really make it worth my while in ad revenue. But I really like doing them because they're some of the best ways to get variety on the channel, and this really has been the year of the series. I'll make a video breaking it down at some point, but I have a Google Sheet in which I kind of keep statistics on all the series. And I think in 2023, we had 14 of them completed, and in 2024, there were like 30 or more. It's insane. There was always something going. And that's because there has been more than one video on average per day for the entire year. That's insane. I mean, I have to justify the time that I spend on these things because they are very time-consuming. And I do want to give up that one upload a week, simply because I want to work on longer projects. I've actually kind of been taking on a bunch of them more recently anyway, things like Open Sewer and Ted the Caver. But it's not to say that it's all about making it worth it in that way, because, I mean, look at readings, look at Ted the Caver. Those are things that take a huge amount of time, but I do those just because I like doing them, because I like being able to look back and have that library of content. And I do them because I know that the people who like them really like them. And so, for a long time now, since like a couple of years ago, I've had a pledge to put out at least one reading a month, just to make sure that I don't stagnate on that stuff. I mean, viewers of The Long Drive should certainly know that if I don't do something for a long time, it starts to feel more and more distant, and I do it less and less often. I started this channel in 2013, and it didn't become my job until late in 2021. But I was periodically uploading before then, and in the year 2021, when I first got monetized but hadn't yet gotten big, I was basically uploading under the philosophy that anything goes, that anything remotely creepy and comfy that I can think of is perfect for the channel. I can't tell if that's a rock formation or if it's one of those beached ships. I think it is. Of course, objects in desert can always be farther than they appear. I don't know if it's worth making a trip all the way out there, especially with the roads being what they are now. But those things tend to have a cargo hold full of all kinds of fluid drums. We don't really have too much need for it right now, but it's something we could want to look into if we ever run low. Well, I would hope to not ever be that desperate. We're off to a good start. I mean, the navigation is completely messed up, and it's about to get even more messed up, but we are off to a good start. And I have to say, the sun really does beat down, even though I like to imagine we've got the AC on protecting us in our insulated bubble from the dangers outside. I still find the night much more calming. If only because I don't have so much bloom and reflection in my face. I am a night owl in real life as well. You know, I work better at night. Oh, that's a creepy image. With all those cacti in the distance and the red glow of the sunset cast over the one tree, it's like a whole bunch of green figures and one bright red one standing, forming an ocean of people in front of us. That was a pretty surreal few seconds, and the illusion is only enhanced now that night has fallen. I can't see basically anything ahead of me except for the faint reflection of the headlights on these figures. I've never driven through the desert before. I'm kind of an East Coast guy, but I do wonder if these things are creepy at night the same way trees are. I'm sorry, I saw the reflection on a rock and thought that there was something glowing by the side of the road. Actually, I spoke about being safe in my insulated bubble. What do you say we do the thing they always told me was illegal? And turn on these cabin lights. Turn out the engine. Turn out our headlights. Nope. Just the ticking sound of the engine, the crickets outside. Or actually, is our window up? Hang on, wait. Can we roll the window separately? We can. It's a bit difficult to control, I must say. There we are. There's another strange light, this one a red one. This feels so strange. This feels... What was that? You heard that? You heard that, right? You heard it sounded like a scrape, like something moving? No, not that. Roll it up entirely, thank you. You ever do this? I mean, I know it's not safe, but you ever just stop on a desolate road and turn everything off and take it in for a moment? Given that you're in this safety bubble, I do like to acknowledge the situation you're really in. Realize how isolated you really are, and how screwed you'd be if this safety bubble suddenly broke down in any of the million different ways that it can. I mean, it's easy to feel like you're in civilization, you're on a paved road, but out here in the middle of nowhere, it really is your lifeline. And there is something... I was going to say, there is something comforting about having the cabin lights on. But I'm not a huge fan of the fact that it casts my own shadow over the passenger seat. You ever had those moments? I have those moments all the time, especially while I'm in my computer chair reading creepypastas at night. And I just, like, feel eyes on the back of my head, and I have to turn around, turn the lights on, sit that way for a while. I don't drive myself, but I do wonder if it would be the same while driving alone. I really should get my license. I mean, I've never really thought I would be good at it. I have, driven a car around, like, a parking lot and stuff. And it's not that it's all that hard, but I think with me, like, when it comes to looking around and, like, having to pay attention in 50 different directions at once and develop the muscle memory so that it kind of becomes an extension of you so you can do what you need to do without thinking about it. Yeah, I don't know if I would be any good at that. Every once in a while, it's worth it to just kind of coast along in silence. I mean, thankfully, it seems like the moon has decided to join us and help us out a little bit, and then suddenly be swallowed up by an unforgiving sky, I guess. Hello, abrupt road transition. Does this mean we're seeing our first major biome change? Answer, no. It's just there seems to be two different types of desert. That's strange. I know this game has grass biomes, but we haven't actually seen any such thing yet. And the road is just constantly blocked by boulders. I think one of the major things in the works for this is an overhaul of the way the terrain works, and I don't know if what we're seeing now is part of it. I haven't really followed this game all that much. I've only scrolled back in the news updates a little bit to see a brief summary of what's changed, but really the main takeaway was changes to the way fluids work. So I guess in that way, it's kind of like the Build 42 update to Project Zomboid, right? Oh, speaking of series, since I was talking about them before, something that I really wanted to address, especially after I just told you this was the year of the series and I'm dialing it back. There are a million suggestions for series, and I have heard you. I do read suggestions. Just about everything I'm doing on the channel at any given time is the result of suggestions. There's just such a huge backlog. But just because I haven't done something, just because I haven't mentioned something, does not mean I haven't heard you. I might have mentioned this before, but on the Discord, in the video suggestions channel, I have a post I regularly update that says games that I will play in the near future. And the way that works is it's not something I've decided to play. There are many, many, many things I've decided to play at some point, but I only put things on the list when it is 100% guaranteed that I'm going to do them, and I only consider it 100% guaranteed once I've recorded it. By the time you see something on that list, chances are the video is already ready to go and is just waiting for a time to be scheduled in. Oakwood was sitting on there for like several months. Outlast Trials as well. Because those were recorded then, it was just a matter of finding a place to put it. I think that's the real problem that I always run into at this channel is, like, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about the workload when I say that I need to dial it back a bit, because I want to dial it back so I can work on other things. I am kind of a workaholic, and I don't necessarily dislike it this way because I'm not missing out on fun things to do it. I mean, I am my own boss. When somebody asks me to hang out, as long as I have a little bit of forewarning, as long as I know that I have something ready to go, which I always do, I can say yes. I don't have to worry about, okay, I'll ask my boss if I can take that time off. So even though it is a lot of work, even though it's a lot of stress at times, I still wouldn't trade it for anything. I am in an extremely privileged position, and I've always made sure to remember that. But we won't be in a very privileged position if we run out of resources, so let's see if there's anything up here. I've noted that there do seem to be far fewer structures spawning than before, which I kinda like. Let's just make sure there's nobody hanging out inside. Looks to be okay. There we go, that's what we were looking for. And it's got 4 bullets already inside. Pew pew. We've got some oil, that's not what we need. A melee weapon would take us a long way. But water we can get. We don't need to fill up that whole drum. That'll be for gas if we can get it. But you, sir, are a perfect candidate. What's great about these structures is that you can fit a large thing, even a drum, underneath one of these faucets. Which means they're just as easy to fill up. Oh, come on. Oops, no. Wasting a lot here. There we are. Let's even drink while we're doing it. Oh, we're starving. Oh, this was worth it. We got a gun. We got a whole bunch of water. We're ready to take on the world. At least until we find a katana or something. Then we're really ready to take on the world. We can do this Michonne style. Nope. Climbing over all these dusty cobwebs. And being annoyed and admittedly kind of jealous about all the jerks flying around above us. A toboggan? I knew a doctor by that name. A chocolate bar we can eat. There we go. Unfortunately, we didn't win a golden ticket that time. I wonder if there's any way for us to, like, mount this to the roof, like we're going on vacation or something. There's no chance it's gonna stay. I feel like this would be great in multiplayer, you know? You just kind of tie it to the... Hands off the merchandise, you. It knows it's running away. Oh my god! Oh my god! Hey, 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 hey! Let me up, let me up, let me up. Alright, well, now's a great time to test the gun. Look at that. We even have to make sure we're pulling the trigger on the correct chamber. Is this some new form of twerking I'm not aware of? I have no idea what the kids are up to these days. Are we still doing Gangnam Style? That was like the last big meme before I was out of high school. Alright, let's get in. And see how we go. Oh, you decided to come back, have you? It actually kinda is sitting on the roof. I admittedly don't remember which direction we came from, but I guess it hardly matters now. Come on. I think this thing is clipping into me and causing all kinds of weirdness. Unless it somehow ended up under the car. No, it seems we're going again. But anyway, as I was saying, I think it would be really fun to go into multiplayer and tie the toboggan to the back and just have a player being dragged along the road, sparks flying everywhere, or actually because it's wood, I guess it just catches fire. It's kind of like Ghost Rider. I haven't played much of the experimental multiplayer build. I played a little bit with my friend Sarah, and it was absolute chaos. Hilarious, but barely playable. And by barely, I mean like truly not playable. This may be our chariot, but what if our chariot had a chariot? It's unlikely this thing is actually gonna run, but we could try it. Alcohol, gas. I'll take some alcohol, that'll improve our health at the expense of some hydration. Just a little bit more gas to improve the ratio, which it still doesn't. Right, and you go. Good job, we saved the planet. Is there anything else? I think that's about all there is to it. Do you run? Doesn't seem so. Why is that? That's the real question. This is one of those ones where we're gonna have to... Well, you've got no coolant, first of all, so you'll be overheating in no time. Do you have an engine access in here? You do. Manual handbrake. And if we move over to here... I can't tell if you're one of those engines that needs oil in the gas tank. Well, you're completely out of fuel. Yeah, we would need to fill you up basically from scratch, and that's not going to happen. Oh well. Imagine if we could train a zombie to drive this thing, and then we just kind of ride in the back like we're shooting a movie or something. Having a personal chauffeur in the apocalypse, a representative of the apocalypse, would certainly be my style. Fortunately, we're riding kind of alone here. That engine is actually running really, really hot. I think that might be influenced by the fact that we put in too much oil. Maybe it would be a good idea to find some place to stop. I don't know if there's actually any benefit to sleeping in a bed, but it couldn't hurt to try, right? Something I have wanted to just kind of spread the good word about while it's on my mind. Tubi is awesome. The streaming service, the free streaming service, is really great. I started using it this year after just kind of dismissing it as like, oh, it's a free streaming service, it's probably not that great. There is so much on there, and as a fan of horror, it's a super great resource because, first of all, sometimes you can be surprised at the stuff that's on there. But also, there's just such a huge volume, and I think the horror genre is a great one for just kind of reaching into the bin and seeing what you pull out. And I have found so many weird discoveries, and again, there is so much room for nuance when it comes to looking at movies that you can watch something that is like utter, like, 70s schlock and still think, wow, that's really interesting. I learned something even about my own tastes watching this. The horror genre in particular, I think, is a great genre for just saying, okay, I have this amount of time to kill, so I'm going to find something that roughly fits that runtime, and just scroll through a list and pick whatever catches my interest. In that way, it sort of reminds me of going and choosing a movie to rent from Blockbuster. I remember doing that, where you go in and sometimes you have a movie in mind, and if it's popular, you can be pretty sure they'll have it. But a lot of the time, you're just walking the aisles, seeing what you think you might like to watch. Streaming kind of gives us the opportunity to do exactly that again, only with much greater variety. And the horror genre is perfect for that, because there's so much variety. You know how you say somebody is well-read? How somebody who reads a lot is likely to have a very well-rounded view of a bunch of different topics? Well, I think you can say the same for movies. Even if you totally don't like something, you can learn about your own tastes. You can learn what you'd like to see more of. Hang on, I need a moment to mentally recover from that. I actually felt that in my heart. Okay, that's one more zombie down. Unfortunately, we only have 2 bullets left. Which means we can only do that 2 more times. We really could use a melee weapon. Of course, one could be in any of these boxes, but we won't know until we use a bullet to open one. Okay, all looks good here. Look at that. We can even pick up a new bench for a car. Will this open? Yes. Ooh, a meat brick. These meat bricks are great for food. So watching different horror movies is a great way to just get, like, different ideas. I mean, just recently, I finally watched Lake Mungo just because it appeared in the streaming list on Tubi. And I was like, yeah, I've heard that name before. People say it's good. I'll give it a try. And what it is sort of found footage. It's really more of a faux documentary. And what I really liked about it is that it just feels like a documentary. It doesn't feel like a feature film that was co-opting a certain style. There's the sun in our eyes. There we go. Now we're driving safely again. And is it my favorite movie ever made? Not really, but it really creeped me out for an hour and a half. And it did that because it felt so original. It didn't feel like the same formulaic thing that I've seen over and over again. I really love the Halloween series, but I'm not the biggest slasher fan because, well, let's be real, you always know what you're going to get from those things. You always know the beat for beat. But of course, even those can surprise you sometimes. But once more night falls, and ooh, we are on a thinner, more unmarked road. Even within the desert, we are getting off into the middle of nowhere. I probably talked about this before, but I have a cousin who told me that Europe is scary because it's old, America is scary because it's huge. And that's another big part of the appeal of road trips. I mean, just look at something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Having to stop in the middle of nowhere, Texas, nobody around, and running into horrors that you wouldn't think could exist in the modern day, but simply through obscurity are allowed to persist. It's the fact that you feel like you're somewhere so outside of how you understand reality to work, and just anything can happen. I think that's partly what I love about travel. It's getting outside of what you know and having to kind of relearn everything from scratch, from where you're getting food and water to who you need to talk to get certain things done, meeting people and seeing what they're like in this part of the world. On the road like this, you could end up crashing headlong into some story that's been simmering for decades, but you had no idea. You're just a tourist passing through. I scare the crap out of myself every time I'm in that rear view. In fact, I'm going to angle that upward a little bit more. Again, there's no streetlights to actually facilitate this effect, but just imagine seeing a silhouette back there as we pass under a streetlight. That's the kind of jump scare I really love in media. It's not the easiest thing to get right, but the kind of thing that comes without a scare cord. Because if I were to jump scare you with something right now, I could have a scary face show up. I could even pair that sound with just my own face appearing in the rear view. But you'd be more scared by the sound than the event itself, even if you might come away thinking it was the event. I really like the silent ones because a lot of the time, you don't even necessarily notice them when they're happening. Sometimes you see something, register it, but it doesn't really hit you until just a little bit later, and then you're forced to go on with that jittery feeling and nothing to do about it. And I think it's the not having anything to do about it that makes it linger so much more. That's still getting me every single time. I'm having a hard time maintaining control at these speeds. Doesn't look like we're moving very fast, but we are pretty consistently up at like 70 miles an hour. We have hardly burned any gas. Our odometer says we've traveled about 52 kilometers. Let's turn that cap and light off for a bit. Let's indulge in the darkness for a while. That crosshair is a little bit intrusive. Is that maybe something we can change? Hang on. I know this game does have a huge number of settings. Crosshair scale? We can make it smaller. Look at that. Physics lock, whole interior. We can change the physics lock. I think I knew that, but it still looks really cool. Being able to change things fundamentally like that, I like being able to customize this experience because something like this understands that it is just about watching the road drift by under you and letting your thoughts do the real heavy lifting. My brother Dan recently started this thing where he'll just put on his second monitor those live streams of trains driving through snowy terrain. and I definitely get it. I can't wait in the morning to climb outside and check to see if the toboggan is still on the roof. Or if we wanted to have a little bit of spooky fun, we could always pull over on the road right now and see if it's still there. I'm a little bit hesitant to step out, especially since I keep thinking I can hear things. Wow, that crosshair really got small. But that little point is all I need. Nope, we probably lost it some time ago. Probably around the time the physics stopped behaving weirdly. Oh well, no big deal. I just adore headlights as a form of lighting, whether they're lighting my way or whether I see them in the distance. Or whether there's strange streaks still hanging in the air. I don't know what that has to do with headlights, so I'm just kind of continuing the sentence. Oh, it also changes the icon when we go to use an object. Alright, that may be a little bit more difficult. But dawn breaks once more. And we are ready to hit the road again. I definitely do feel like it's spawning structures a lot less frequently. I did complain before that it felt like we were practically tripping over them. This definitely feels a lot closer to right. Of course, that could change at a moment's notice if we do end up running out of gas, but should be quite a long while before we have to concern ourselves with something like that. The slightest thing and we go zooming. I would like to find more gas though, you know, we have been dealing with that terrible mixture this whole time. Oh my god, that is blinding. I guess in that way it's a good thing that the road curves more. Otherwise, at the end of every day, we'd be staring straight down the barrel of the sun like we have been, and we haven't even found any polarizing sunglasses yet. Which are a thing in this game. Look, our mirror is really getting away from us. I wonder how that works. Like, I wonder if it's jerked around when we make some high-G maneuvers, or if it's actually scripted to sort of drift after a while over time. If I can speak. I mean, that would give you an incentive to adjust your mirrors more than just at the start of every game, right? Alright, we can turn those lights off. The desert is a completely different place by day. It's kind of weird because by day it looks so open and vast. At night, even though it is the same terrain, it feels a lot more smothering. Like the darkness itself is blanketing you. There's some kind of structure way off in the distance there. And there's a whole lot of you guys popping in wherever you feel like it. Actually, you could consider tumbleweeds to be an enemy in this game. After all, they can distract you and cause you to wreck. However, I'm actually kind of thinking that we haven't seen any of those giant rabbits yet. I don't know. Actually, this is turning right back around the way we came. I gotta wonder, are we just kind of treading water in the same small stretch of desert? Because we are wrapping around and changing direction all the time here. The temperature gauge is climbing ever higher. Actually, it seems like we can, in fact, coast a lot more than we could in previous versions. That may just be my perception. I mean, this is somewhat realistic. We don't need to be holding the W key all the time. One thing I really regret is not getting to do more urban exploration videos in 2024. And it's not that I had to not schedule any trips because I was too busy with workload, it's just that there hasn't really been much available to do near me. And granted, there have been some cool things, like just recently I had my first nighttime explore in a house, and it certainly made it worth it for the mood alone. You could sort of consider it urbex that I got to check out the last full-sized Kmart. I consider it urbex. And more recently, I did get to return to the Lookout, that one all-military outpost turned actually residential housing that I explored in full last year. But there was one thing that was kind of weird about it last time we were there, and we did note it in that video. It had a basement, but there wasn't any interior access. Like, we looked around and we couldn't find any basement stairs. It did have a pair of cellar doors that were padlocked, so even though we couldn't get down there, we sort of assumed that that was all there was to it, that it only had that kind of access. But last time we were there, we got absolutely eaten alive by ticks and sugars and mosquitoes, and it was awful. This time we went in the winter just a couple weeks ago, and we found it completely sealed up. We found we could not get into the house proper. And I was like, you know what, we came all this way, I'm gonna try and climb through the window into the basement. And so I did, and I'm looking around trying to see if there's any kind of interior access. And I go around the corner to another basement room, and I see a wooden staircase going up and to the right. So I look upward, and I just see, like, the bottom of the floor. Like, they just completely went over this thing when they redid the floors. What was more alarming was on my left, where there was just a hole in the foundation, a big one. And not like somebody had cut in a door, it literally looked like someone had taken a sledgehammer and just knocked a round chunk out of the wall. So I step inside and see a concrete set of stairs, also going up, but this time to the left, and once again, just looking at the bottom of hardwood floors. It was so bizarre. But then on the right, this big, heavy, metal, like, bunker-looking door. And I was looking at it thinking, there's no way this thing's gonna open. But I reached over and I grabbed it and kind of pulled on it. And I don't even know if I needed to. I don't know what this was attached by, but I was able to pull the door open. And beyond was just a regular room with a suspiciously newer-looking boiler in there. But either way, it was just a really strange set of things to come across. Like, there's so many stories being told here that I can only guess at. And the only thing I can really come up with a good idea for is that the basement that was sealed away and eventually reopened, even if haphazardly, was probably the original military basement from when this house was a fortification disguised as a house meant to spot German submarines off the coast. I think the cellar was added when someone bought the place and turned it into a house. I don't know, it's just weird things you come across. But then again, I find the whole hobby of urban exploration to be pretty similar to, you know, the long drive. A big part of it is just what you feel when you're walking around, not even so much about the location itself, although there is plenty of interest there as well, seeing what artifacts you can uncover and what history you can guess at, just taking in the fact that you're standing in some place where so many historically significant things could have happened. And I'm not even talking about, like, major events, although Charles Lindbergh did apparently write a letter asking to have this place saved back in the 70s. I'm just talking about the day-to-day goings-on, like being in a psych hospital and wondering what kind of patients whose stories are every bit as complex as our own lives pass through these rooms. The staff members who that's every bit as true for, the things that might have happened, the conversations that might have been had. It's just a lot to take in, and that's why I love it so much. But there's also the side of, you know, walking around in there and hearing the patter of rain on the roof and trickling down through the open walls as it rains. Having it get dark and realizing you have to find the exit before you no longer have that ability, or at least before it gets a lot more difficult in the beam of your flashlight. I feel like just about everything I do is mostly for the vibes, and that is not a bad way to live. It's kind of a pattern that just about everything I talk about in this video keeps coming back to. I don't like the rush, I like being able to take it easy. But so much of modern society demands a rush. I wonder if taking it easy wouldn't feel as good if we didn't have to rush so often. I mean, the grass is always greener on the other side. That's kind of what I've learned. I mean, these days I always lament having no free time, but for like 8 years after I finished high school, until the channel took off, I had nothing but free time. The only job I really worked was doing some minor theater stuff a couple times a month, but that's really not much. Other than that, it was just kind of sitting around playing video games and watching movies. Although I suppose that's not really true. I mean, can you really call it time wasted if it built the context that you kind of found everything else on? I mean, it was during that time that I learned how to do video editing, how to mess around with cameras, and I'm definitely applying a lot of the skills I learned then today. It was during that time that, just out of a need to save money, I learned how to fix and build my own computers. I'm just looking so anxiously at those temperatures. It's not to the point where we're going to be stalling out, and maybe it's just always going to reach a certain point. We can never cool it down completely. But still, I wonder if there is anything better than water we can put in the tank to use as coolant in this game? I mean, I know we can use urine in a pinch. There's a structure up ahead, but we're gonna have to start picking our battles. I only have 2 bullets left in this gun. And to be honest, I'd probably be saving the last one for if we run out of water in the desert. It does loop back around. It does. We've been here before. Are you kidding? I never thought I'd see the day when I come across a familiar sight in this game. Doors open, you didn't just die of dehydration like I'm about to. About to in the cosmic sense. I actually have quite a lot of water here. Ooh, but there is a ship fairly close by. And there's the toboggan. I think I should just accept at this point that I am just driving aimlessly and I have absolutely no sense of direction whatsoever. You know, maybe this will be a one-off video. There's definitely no progression. Yep, here we go. This is what I meant before when I said that objects in desert are much, much farther than they appear. Because here we are booking it at 120, would it be kilometers an hour? And still it doesn't seem to be getting any closer. Wait. Is the side just rusty, or is this a complete mirage? Have mirages been implemented? I mean, the heat blur is certainly a lot more pronounced than it once was. No. Its surface may look rocky, but that is indeed a ship. Which is really bizarre when you think about it. I mean, I guess it could be suggesting that it's like some kind of Mad Max world where all these were once the ocean floor. But then again, how do you explain the road? Okay, let's give our car a moment to rest. Always so strange when you can't hear the rumble of the engine anymore. It's like relaxation amid relaxation. Okay, you are empty. I think I really need to increase that scale. Wait, where was it? That should do just fine. But you're empty. Here's the problem with these big drums, is that they tend to have a mixture as well, which doesn't really serve us. This is all gas. This is all gas, so this is a good thing to bring out. Should solve some of our heating issues, but more importantly, Hopefully the engine will sound a lot nicer. Again, please do not drink the gas. You gotta leave the rest for anyone else who might need some. There we go. That's enough to shift the ratio a little bit. Actually, this thing's empty, like completely empty. We might as well just throw this drum in the back, right? There we are. Still got another 13.8 gallons. We haven't used anywhere close to the full amount here, so I think we'll be going for quite a while. Look at those shadows waving through here. Now there's a sight. Thank you, Cactus, for reaching out to obscure the sun for me. You saw it was in my eyes and you were like, I got you, bro. Those terrain scatters are certainly casting some interesting shadows. But right now I need something to eat. And the meat cube should do us just fine. Nom. Straight to fall. And I've just realized my folly. The exact same one from the very first time I played this game. What's happened is I've driven out into the middle of the desert. With no idea of how I'm getting back. All I know is that the road is very far away. And now night is falling, so I have to take it slower because of these terrain scatters. And to top it all off, there's not even any streetlights to guide me back in, so I think I'm just about through here. Actually, I'll have to pay attention to make sure I don't accidentally drive right over one, but if there are all these roads just crisscrossing the ground like this, that should increase the chances that I'll be able to find one, right? I mean, even if it's not going the right way, what difference does it make? I haven't been going the right way this entire time. What even is the right way? Maybe I should have just tried to maneuver around the end of the road that I came across before. Maybe then I wouldn't be in this mess. But coming upon it in the dark, it really didn't seem like there was any other way at the time. Here we go, there's a road. Exactly what I was hoping for. But what else can I talk about? Oh yeah, so The Long Drive has been a series that is always up in the air, and quite understandably, when I don't touch a series for a long time, people start to wonder, like, is that dead? Are you coming back to it at some point? What are you waiting for? And a lot of it is inertia. If I haven't made something in a while, I'm less likely to even be thinking about it day by day. But I really don't like to ambiguously end a series. I mean, I like it to be pretty clear when something is truly over. Otherwise, I like to think that the door is open to go back to it. I mean, I'm coming back to this, periodically. This has always been kind of periodical. But in the beginning, I blitzed like 2 or 3 Super Mario B3313 videos in a row. And then it was like a really long time until part 4, and it's been a long time since then. I really kind of have to choose my occasional series carefully because I tend to think that when I'm playing a game, I am sitting down and I am putting it out every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday until it's done. That's the ethic that I kind of like to have with these things. But sometimes it doesn't make sense to do that. Like with Stalker, I'm having to space it out more because it is proving to be much, much longer than I imagined, and that's not a complaint about the game itself. It's just, I have to schedule it out differently because of the time that goes into it. With something like B3313, I can return whenever. Something like Project Zomboid or really CDDA really threw me for a loop. Because that was supposed to be a challenge where it would be over when I died. That's the way a Project Zomboid save works. But because that one doesn't have a definitive goal like clearing the prison or escape from Raven Creek, that meant that the more I don't die, the more I have to do, and that put me in a really awkward position, because I ended up making it pretty far with the Jesus Griffiths character. and I'm on the farm. I've got enough food to survive for a while, but it is winter. I could start farming. I actually recorded another episode of that, and I still have it. Maybe I'll share it at some point. But I did record another episode. There wasn't much going on. My car is completely dead, so I can't even go to the next town over without it being a huge hike. And even if I did get there, I know it's going to be super packed with zombies. So I realized that save was basically dead in the water. Like, there just wasn't anywhere it could go from there and still feel interesting. And that's kind of why it stopped and hasn't been back in like a year and a half. Which, again, I hate to do. I hate to leave it on a note like that. I even thought about eventually going back just so that I could hike to the next town and die trying to clear it. I've kind of put myself in the same situation with Mystery House, haven't I? And that is a series that I really think has a lot of gas in the tank, and I do want to return to it in the very near future, especially now that I've overcome that hurdle of putting out the abridged video. But that's another thing that I really like for it to be more occasional rather than every other day, simply because it has no clear endpoint, so it makes no sense to rush it. The same actually kind of happened to me. It's always funny when it catches me off guard. The same thing kind of happened with the Ready or Not One Life series. That was supposed to be one video, and I figured if all goes really well, it'll be like a 5-hour video. But one challenge video nevertheless. But instead, I'm currently having to record like part 4, and I'm in like the last 3 levels of the game. Simply because I simply have not died due to these new AI changes. I mean, I've been close a few times. I do actually think the game has been made a little bit too easy in some respects. But that's something else I can potentially talk about right after I deal with this. Okay, what just flew out? Okay, that's the... Oh, that's the visor. How it managed to get out there with the window closed is beyond me, but... Wait, what? Is that the passenger visor? There we go. How did you manage that? Everything look okay? There's no blood spray on the windshield, so that's always good. The coolant tank appears to be open. Why can't we close it? I'm getting so burned standing on top of this right now. There we go. Oh, we have to put it on the hole and not the cap. Let me out. That was a nice sound effect, wasn't it? Still, it's a little disheartening knowing that I'm really just going backwards from where I've already been. Did we drop this? Oh, are you a hubcap? Yeah, you probably go right there. Thank you. Man, it is so funny. It's so funny the way the destruction works in this game where parts don't have condition. I mean, they can be rusted, they can be repaired from there, but they don't really break. And so you're just kind of trying to literally pull yourself together when you get into an accident and pieces just go scattering to the wind. Sometimes things get lost or stuck in weird places and you decide to continue on without them. That's another thing that's fun about these procedurally generated games is how you kind of tell your own story as you go. There's not so much emergent storytelling in this game, but still, you have these fun little challenges that kind of present themselves rather than being thrown at you by the game. I've been recording for quite a while now. We have not seen the aliens. Maybe they feel like I'm kind of a honeypot here. I mean, what would you think if you're an alien, you see an empty world and just one car driving around in the desert? You figure that's gotta be bait, right? Like, you just know that in 2 weeks this guy is going to be on the Art Bell podcast telling his story. Looks like there's a gas station up ahead, even if it's one of the ones we were forced to flee from earlier. Now we're coming prepared. Okay, let's sneak on up and hope we can see them before they see us. There is one there, but unfortunately he's against the wall. I want to try and run him over if possible, save the bullet. That car looks to be in pretty good shape though, and it's got some storage space. Now that is a horn to make somebody panic when you're flying towards them. Hey, buddy, over here. Look, it's even got its little companion toboggan. Can't leave home without it. Right this way, bucko. No, come on, I know you can keep up. You're a zombie, you've got infinite energy. Ooh, look at you running back there, you're like the T-1000. Anybody else ever notice that Robert Patrick runs really weirdly? I was always just like mesmerized. I would try to imitate it as a kid. People were like, what are you doing? Anyway, oh no, I've lost track of him. Oh, there he is.
I'm just trying to rip off your face and use it as my own.
Well, what if we pin you? Would that work? That did not work, like at all. You actually came out of that remarkably unscathed. Alright. Guess we'll just have to make do. Only one bullet left after this.
Wait up. It's good to finally die.
Glad to be of service, then. Let's step inside and hope to find some sort of weapon. Wow, this place is a gold mine. Look, we've even got a motorcycle in the rafters. If we wanted, we could just take off in that. Oh, no, I always had the binoculars. I forgot I put them in slot 1. All right, let's drink some water. It seems like we desperately need it. Another light, paint, a wire brush. We'll take that. Is that a different engine type? It is. It may not be ideal for our vehicle, but we could still throw it in there. I mean, if we wanted, right? Okay, well, think about that. I don't believe there's any way to use the pumps at this point in time. I don't know if that's planned for the future. We've got oil and a box that we could dig out of the ground if we had a shovel. Alas, we do not. Hello? Kitty. Look at that, we can push the little sign. Huh. It's written in some kind of alien language. We could always Better Call Saul this thing. Now that's something I'm torn on because this looks close enough to the color we spray painted on. Can we do these? Well, at least we know that this was something completely new and that we can get on the road again. Haunted Mansion! Oh boy, I am so under-equipped for this, but I am so excited. I don't know why this chose to be the moment for a really old memory to come back. When I was a kid, I was super into Ghost Hunters. Like, I loved that show. And I wanted a game where you play as a ghost. But I don't mean something where you possess the living, or you fight enemies, or try to do something like that. I wanted a game where you just play as a ghost, you're in a normal house, and it's just a free-form sandbox where you try to scare people. And it would have intelligent AI that is able to react to simple things like noticing that something has moved that wasn't in a certain position before, being able to take on a corporeal form and walk across a doorway at the end of a hall. I just really wanted to like freeform direct a horror story in that way. And when one family moves out, another one moves in and you start the whole cycle over again. I can already hear somebody in there. Okay, well, I need to have some water. So which of you was that? There we go. Sounds like the inhabitant is getting a bit closer even as we speak. Alright. We probably drank actually a decent amount of this water at this point, but we can probably fill up inside if need be. Hello? My car ran out of gas. I was wondering if you have a phone I could use?
Why not now? My legs are not so good, so please stop. I want to take a look at you.
Your legs look plenty fine when you're running after me.
I hope it's under the cooking pot.
Climbing in the window, investigating the voices coming from somewhere. They're definitely upstairs. Ooh. Cowboy hat. There we go. Not even a cowboy hat. That's like an Indiana Jones style fedora. Well, that's one way to lose our last bullet. And they all probably heard that, right? Maybe I can still use it to threaten them. Well, the plumbing may not be working, but I can see they're still making use of these facilities. There's some gas. Not that I really need it. Nom, nom. We might as well get what we came here for, right? No, we don't need to paint anything. What I could really, really use is more ammo. That's just a book. Alright, well, this is more of a scavenging mission than a clearing one now. By necessity. Ooh, a meat cube. There we go. If we should be taking anything out of here, it's that.
What was the song I heard?
I hate hearing this. The sun going down, tons of them stomping about. But no idea where they are. It certainly sounds like they know where I am. Oh no, yep, they definitely... Oh, they can open windows! Whether or not they can climb in is another story, I don't know. Look, this has been barricaded by a bed. Will you make your way around to me if I break line of sight? Doesn't seem so. Alright, that house is kind of a no-go zone for now. But I happen to know from previous experience that there might be something we can do over here. Yes. There's a frame of a car in the back. Listen, we can even hear the cawing of crows, fitting for a graveyard. Good to see you again, Darwin. How'd you like to come on a little road trip with me? Now this is grave robbing. Oh God, I really hope there's none in the basement. I've never actually died in the long drive. I don't know what happens when you do. Do you just go back to the last autosave or what? There's actually objects buried in the basement. It's not just Darwin's house, it's the lair of the whole Bone Brigade. You know what was an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog that absolutely terrified me as a kid? I only thought of it because I saw the box buried in the ground, but that episode where they were approached by the zombie director, he conducted this ritual filming in the basement because his old business partner was buried under the house after being, I believe, executed by the state, or they at least said that he died in prison. I don't know if Cartoon Network got that dark. But I'll tell you what is about to be that dark. Me when I pick up this crowbar. Alright, I'm not going to try and fight all this, but we do have a weapon now.
I wonder what happened to my wife. Did I had any wives?
The things they say are legitimately really creepy. Like, sometimes it's goofy, and it kind of makes you laugh at it, but there really is some disturbing dialogue for you to listen to, and it certainly doesn't help that a lot of the time it comes in that weird audio mix. The fact that the rest of the game doesn't sound like that makes me wonder if it's not a deliberate choice, like if it's supposed to be disconcerting because it's so low quality.
To be blood everywhere.
Not if I have anything to say about it. Let me in. Ooh, parking brake. Goodbye, scary old house in the desert. You will not be missed. Only thing is, where am I gonna go now? And the answer is anywhere, I guess. I mean, it's the open road. We have absolute freedom, and as long as we have space, as long as we have fuel, nothing's gonna stop us. There is a certain sense of freedom on the road, and I know I mentioned earlier that I've never driven, and so I feel like I'm not really the person to say this, but there is such a sense of freedom in being able to get in your car and just do anything, and we're so tied down by our jobs and families and obligations, but it really is an incredible freedom we've all been given. The idea that one day you could just decide, hey, that thing that's all the way over there, let's go check it out, let's explore it, let's see what it is, and if nothing comes of it, just move on to the next thing. My favorite kind of road trip is the kind with people who are willing to stop and smell the roses. The kind of people who you can plan with to make time for that kind of thing. I actually feel like a genre of movie that's kind of fallen by the wayside in recent years is the adventure movie. The movie where the format is there's a starting point and a destination, and the characters just kind of follow that yellow brick road all throughout, meeting new characters and interacting with different set pieces. That's what a road trip should be like. I mean, it's a format that works because it works, and maybe it's just the nostalgia talking. Things like The Dark Crystal and Never-Ending Story. By the way, every other children's movie used to be a fantasy adventure. But I like that. I like being able to look back at all the individual components, all the memories of what went into getting to the destination, rather than just what we did at the destination. Because that's how you... It's like picking a random movie from the horror bin. That's how you get the unexpected stuff, and that's how you learn about yourself. That's how you learn what you like and dislike, and what you'd like to see more of. I mean, half the time it's those random roadside distractions that allow you to plan your next trip. Ooh, I almost slammed straight into the back of that trailer trying to avoid the bus stop. Is this the one we pulled up on before? I'm not sure. Well, either way, there's nothing for us here. Oh, huh. Seems someone is... Wait, hang on. Seems someone is waiting for a bus. Oh well. Unfortunately, we're not your ride. Oh wait, I forgot Darwin! Oh my god, I forgot Darwin! How could I? Alright, well, at least the sun is coming up now. I cannot believe that I actually just had a Home Alone moment where I realized I left him behind. There was kind of a lot going on last night, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get away in time. And in amid all that, I completely forgot. Okay, parking brake on. Engine can stay running. God, that engine is rattling. Where are you? That was much easier than I thought it would be. You know what? Maybe we should turn the engine off. I think maybe we're gonna be here a little while. Let's get in there. I mean, who's to say this place can't be ours, right? It's gotta be better than that dingy little garage we were living in. You're stuck in the stairs. What am I afraid of you for? You're basically disabled. Well, until you decide to come clipping out in horrible fashion. These are the most frustrating stairs in gaming, I swear. Die. Alright, well, it may lower the property value considering you're a permanent fixture now. But that's alright, it's a fixer-upper. Who's stomping around? Is that maybe more than one? I feel like I'm playing Project Zomboid, just slowly creeping through and killing things until the noises stop. I think that's all. Nice bed. We should be able to sleep in these things. Could climb out the window if we wanted. I swear, is this like the one picture that still exists in this world? We do have a bed, though. Alright, I think that's the house clear. Which means that the house and everything within now belongs to us. Look, we can even crawl into the chimney. Why does this have to be fully 3D? As if we can slide down it like Santa Claus. That would be the nightmare before Christmas, wouldn't it? Anything back in the kitchen? I don't even remember if we ever came here. Lots and lots of wire brushes in this place. Yeah, we are going to spend some time just completely filling up the car. Oh, look at that. The completely stripped one was a decoy. There's a fully intact one right here. It may not start. No. But it is intact. It just needs to be filled up. That's quite an engine. Well, it's full of all the wrong things. Let's dump it out entirely. There we go. Now it just needs oil. I don't know what just happened there. I was just trying to fill this thing up. Is there another... Oh, there's another cap that's open. That would explain why that wasn't working. It doesn't explain what just happened to our oil can. Well, I've ultimately only been able to find about half a liter of oil, which is not ideal. The other 3 disappeared into the ground. But maybe that'll still be enough to make this work. It doesn't even really look like it fits. But we can try it. It's not like I even really needed more power. It does sound better, though. Okay. We are in business. Darwin, I am so sorry. I promise it'll never happen again. Unless, of course, you cling to the grave like this. Come on, don't have such a defeatist attitude. We can get you out of here. Say goodbye to your roommates, Darwin. Right this way. Alright, now, this is going to be a challenge, but hopefully I can get this to work. Alright, just climb on in here. Oh, don't mind the stuff on the seat. Just kind of, you know, sit on top of it. Darwin, you are really being stubborn today. You know that? Yeah. Yep. You really don't want to go, huh? You like it here in your haunted house? Alright, I suppose if it means that much to you, I can spend the night. I'm all out of time anyway, but yeah, it definitely does seem like things are moving in this game. Some updates that pretty substantially change the way it's played. I'm not really sure if I like it or not, but also it's possible that I made some mistakes, and this is also an opt-in branch, so there's also a lot of jank, even for long drive standards, as you can see. Here you go, you just wait right here by the door. Normal sleeping arrangement. And I'll get upstairs, because this place is ours. Fortunately, I cannot seem to find a light switch anywhere. There we are. Wait. No power. Well, I suppose that only makes sense. Well, under these watchful portraits, let's try and get some sleep, I guess. Can I stop this? There we go. Well, we went from nervously clearing this place to desperately running from it to ultimately spending the night. And it seems the Bone Brigade is actually even more active than I thought. They're all crawling out of their graves trying to get at these insanely low housing prices. I really don't know if I'm going to continue on this save. I don't know if I've already completely broken it beyond repair. But even if we do end this here and start on a different build on a different save next time, at the very least we can say that we finally found home, right? Certainly an upgrade from our living conditions before. Even still, I am always grateful for the opportunity to just kind of play this and kind of zone out for a bit. And if you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more creepy and comfy content. If you have any ideas for other videos you think I should do, the best place to suggest that will be at the Discord, which I will link in the description. If you want to try this game out for yourself, the link will also be in the description. If you want to support me on Patreon, that link will be in the description. And as always, I will see you in the next one.